is here. This is so exciting. I just want to see that camera, get it into my hands. I wonder how much like an FM2 it is. Stu, I've been waiting for this moment. I can't wait. 1980s, look, I've even got my FM2 out. Oh, can't wait to get out there. Top team, me and you. It's like we're 17 again. 1984. Bring it on. Let's get out there.
I'm going nowhere with you dressed like that.
Oh, all right. I'll get changed. Can I keep the wig though?
No. You know, Phil, the trouble with you really is you just get too overexcited. You're always like a bit kid with a new toy. You've just got to calm down a bit, you know, just calm down.
We've just been out shooting, and I think you can see from this morning I was a tad excited. And this is what we got our hands on from the good people at Nikon. They sent us the ZFC. Now the ZFC is a new camera, but it's modelled on an old camera. It's modelled on the 1982 Nikon FM2. This is it. Oh God, you feel that?
I know.
Feel the weight of that.
He said earlier, he said it was really heavy. I mean,
compared.
And just as remember, there's no film in here.
Well, there is actually. I borrowed this off Graham, so don't open the back.
Fuck all his film. 20 years old.
No, we don't want to fog his film. So, this is the FM2, and this is the new one, look, the ZFC. And look how similar they are. Look at the top of that. Look at the dimensions. They are just so alike. Look at that dial on the top there.
That one's a bit battered. Graham's actually had a fight with somebody with that one.
He's had a fight with the floor by the looks of it. They're very similar, and we wondered how similar they were to the Z6 Mark II. Now obviously that's a full frame camera from Nikon, but you know, there's a lot of similarities between them. Obviously this is the DX format sensor, the APS CMOS sensor, so the sensor's not as big in this camera as it is in that, and we wondered what a difference that was going to make. So we went out today. Unfortunately Stuart made me take the wig off in the end. But it was interesting. We took a lot of pictures, the same pictures side by side. So let's have a look at the first one, and it's a flower out in the street, and it's pretty obvious, isn't it, which one is the full frame Z6 Mark II and which one is the ZFC. The smaller APS sensor is of course the one at the top. You can see it just hasn't lost that background with the differential focusing with the bokeh that you get on that full frame, but you could argue there's more of the petals, you know, sharp, which looks in some ways slightly sharper. Obviously we're wide open here to you know, to make that bokeh effect really come in, and that means some of the petals are falling out of focus, and only the center of the flower on the full frame picture are sharp, which kind of makes the APS picture look slightly sharper, even though it isn't. But let's have a look at another picture, and here's a picture of the church in Kimber. And which camera is this? Can you tell, is this a full frame camera or is this the ZFC? Let's have a look at the other image from the other camera. There we go. There's a little bit of a color temperature difference in how it's rendering colors there. Which one do you prefer? Which one do you think is the full frame camera? Is it absolutely obvious back to the other one? Or maybe let's put them side by side. Now there, that's obvious. You can see that slight color temperature change, but what we're really looking at is how these cameras are dealing with the shadows, the detail they're picking up in the shadow areas. And I particularly highlight this little area here, look, or maybe the shadow on the side of the tower here. Can you see how one of these images is just picking that little bit more clarity? It's a little bit punchier, but you know, it's well over double the price for the full frame camera. A professional would need that shadow detail, but for amateur use, I don't know.
Well, this is the Z6. We did actually use the Z6 Mark II, but we're filming on that, so we can't show you.
We're filming with that.
So okay. It's exactly the same sensor. It does a few little tweaks in the software and stuff like that, but minor things, really.
Okay, what were your first thoughts when you got this in your hand compared to your regular camera?
I mean, I know you bang on about the retro feel, but because I think it's what you're used to as well. I mean, I'm used to controlling it with these dials here. So initially I thought, you know, all these top dials. It did take me back though.
Yeah.
It did have that flashback, that moment with using the dials. Quality and the operating system's obviously the same Nikon operating system.
Yeah, if you know Nikon operating system from one camera
to the other,
it's pretty much the same.
So
We
it's
were
identical.
able to set this up
set
really,
that up
really
to
quickly.
match that up. We set up the focusing on that.
And we shot at 400. It was a very sunny day, winter sun. We shot at 400 on both so that they were similar.
And that was again a nod to the old timer. Because we thought 400 ASA film, that's what we used to use back in the day.
Oh, back in the day it was all, you know, I mean that was in the day that, you know, 1600 ASA film at a football
was a gamble.
Was a bit of a gamble, absolutely, and it was as bold as not great.
It's like, you know,
if you could
join
make
the dots.
out a head and a ball, you were doing well.
But so we set it up at 400 ISO, and I think from the results which Phil will show you later.
Hang on, who wants to wait for later? Let's have a look at another couple of images now. Here's a picture of the village high street, taken with the ZFC, that lovely retro look camera, and here is the same image taken on the full frame Z6 Mark II. There you go, that extra dynamic range is giving you a little bit more in the shadows, a little bit more in the highlights. They're not quite blown out quite so much. Let's have a look just at this highlighted area in full sunshine, area painted white over here. Wow, on such a big enlargement. You know what, that is not as much as I thought. Yes, the full frame is giving you a better dynamic range and it's giving you more in the highlights and shadows, but not that much more. And for the price difference, that is quite a surprise. Let's give it something a bit more testing. Let's get these black and white buildings with that red phone box, but let's shoot into that low winter flaring sun on the right. So it's flaring across there. We're trying to keep some detail in the buildings. Let's have a look at the ZFC. Yeah, it's flatter, isn't it? But it's probably flatter because it's the kit lens versus that much better lens that Stuart was using on his Z6 Mark II. I have to say, it's not as big a difference again as I thought. And with a slight little tweak to the editing software here in Final Cut, I can just bring those blacks in and we'll put them side by side, and I think you can see they're pretty close. The full frame has got a little bit more, but you know, these cameras are poles apart in price, not poles apart in image quality.
There are differences, minor differences.
There are going to be differences because this has got the kit lens on. This is the DX lens, the 16 to 50, but it is only a 3.5 at 16 and a 6.3 zoomed right the way in. That is not the widest zoom range. However, I was surprised at how well it did, considering it's a kit lens.
Yeah, I think it did handle itself quite well. I mean, you tended to notice that when you were working on the extremes of photography, sort of in the shadows or against the sun,
and where it was flaring,
it did look a bit muddier in those. You still had like
the dynamic range is better.
The dynamic range was better. Yeah. But I think it felt okay. But I think I quite like the grip now. The ergonomic design of the modern camera feels better. I did think that felt a bit kind of old school.
Well, you know, a lot of people have said, they didn't like it. And in actual fact, Nikon have actually bought an extension grip out for this. You can actually get an extension grip now, which clips across the bottom and comes up here.
Oh, right, okay.
And
so it's like the old motor drive.
Yeah, but just a little one for you, enough for you to put your fingers on.
Yeah.
And actually, Yeah. But you know what? You say that and you're holding that. That's an FM2.
Yeah.
Try that now that you're used to the cameras that you're used to.
I think that's it. I think it's get what you're used to.
They didn't have
the
anywhere
ergonomics
for your fingers.
No.
In those days, perhaps we all had better grips or something like that. Perhaps what it is. Now this thing, it looks like an FM2 for sure. We know that, and it feels in the hands like an FM2, but it also sounds like an FM2. You picked this up when you were taking some pictures by the church.
I was shooting away with the Z6s, and Phil was doing the stuff on the FC, and I had a go with it, and I suddenly thought, blimey, it was another flashback moment.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be in the wig. You could hear the shutter. It felt like
the mirror popping up
and going down. So I don't know whether they've done that with some little electronic device.
Oh, it's absolutely manufactured. You know, you've got to remember that these things can be absolutely silent. You know, and you can turn this on to silent.
But it just goes.
It's got a silent mode. No, it just goes nothing. There's no sound.
But
Great for street photography.
But the mode it's in at the moment, it actually feels like you feel a little as well. Yeah. The camera feels like the shutter's flicked up, and it's popped, and you know it's done it like real. So it's even more of a nod to the retro.
Oh, I think so.
Time.
Yeah, I mean they've definitely put that in. This is definitely made for somebody that wants to look like they have a 1980s camera. And that begs the question, who is this made for? Is it made for professional photographers? Is it made for hobbyists or enthusiast photographers? Or is it made for people who are looking for just a really trendy retro gadget? I mean, I think it's a great travel camera because A, it has everything on that you need. B, it has really great image quality. The video is great from it.
Yeah, I mean, we filmed some video on it today for this video, haven't we? Yeah. You know, and so you know, you can probably have a look at it and see if you can spot the difference.
In fact, the wig sequence.
Yeah, the wig sequence is on that camera
that we opened with. That was all filmed on this camera.
I think it pops into that, like we mentioned before. We both got Fuji X10s. I think it's a modern version.
That's interesting.
The Fuji X10.
Yeah, so
with
very
a
much
retro look, but it's just got a more modern nod and feel and technology of this.
That's a good comparison. It is a kind of grown-up version of that old X10. Now that's a camera that Fuji bought out a long time ago. It hasn't been available for quite a while, and people sort of handcrafted it because it had a manual lens, a good lens, and it was a great travel camera because it looked like a little Leica.
And it did video as well.
And it did video, not as well as this, obviously, but this is like a bigger, grown-up version of that, isn't it? I mean, it's a travel camera. It's fantastic image quality. It can do everything that a pro would want it to do. Would you use it on a pro job? I don't think so.
I think you could get away with it at a push.
Yeah,
I think it was a very straightforward job, but as we said earlier,
and your clients would certainly be impressed when you turned out with this.
I think if you rock up on holiday with something like that, people are going to go, he knows what he's talking about, and you look the part, don't you? 'Cause, I mean looks are everything these days, really.
Absolutely.
And the weight of that and the cumbersomeness of this, ergonomic design, battery life, etc., which you need for a professional job, you do need. But I think that going on holiday with that, I'd rather go on holiday with that than this.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the other hand, you've got the 24 to 70 on that. No, you weren't shooting with that today. You were shooting
with the 24 to 200.
The 24 to 200 lens, which costs
about £850, £900.
Okay, and the camera itself
is two-ish.
Yeah, so you were shooting with £3,000 worth of kit, whereas this, with this lens, is coming in somewhere around about the £1,200 mark. So well under half the price.
It was. And like you said, we looked through the images and stuff like that. We could spot the differences, couldn't we? There were slight differences, especially in the shadows, sharpness,
particularly
when you blew it up.
When you are asking the camera to work hard. And what I mean by that is, if you were taking a view and you were on, f11, and you got all the light in the world, and lots and lots of depth of field, then
negligible.
It was negligible difference. It was much harder to find the difference. But if you were struggling with lens flaring or low backlighting or something that you had to work a little bit, then you could start to see where the differences were. But it's a law of diminishing returns, isn't it? Because we need that as professional photographers.
Yeah, to get it right, get it out, get it done quick. You could correct all of that, possibly in Photoshop.
I think there was nothing, the difference between them, unless you are blowing up huge great prints, but it's correctable in post. It was just a case of the shadows being a little bit punchy, nice and punchy in that, and slightly softer in this that would need
a sharpener.
Just...
bit of a sharpener.
Yeah, just bringing up a little bit. But this is so light and easy to carry around and easy to work with. It's sort of a plastic or an alloy, I think, married with plastic body. it has something that a lot of the new cameras I've been moaning about don't have, and that is it has the full flip screen.
Which this doesn't have.
Which that doesn't have. And this is absolutely great for vloggers. Anybody that wants to do any vlogging, any YouTubing, and that kind
you
of
can
thing.
also go even more retro with the back of the camera.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That does give you the option, by the way, of saying, well, okay, we're going to
really
take 24 pictures today. We're going to turn this around. We're going to fold it over, and we're not going to look at anything we've taken all day. Just like the good old days, until you get your pictures back, or until you're back in front of your computer. Wouldn't that be great? Turn the screen around. Yeah, don't have a look at them. Make sure you get it right. Yeah, but of course you can cheat. You can turn it round.
Press the button. You can press playback.
You can press playback and have a look. But that flip screen is a really big thing for anybody that's doing anything to camera. For instance, we are recording this at the moment, as Stuart said, on the
Z6ii.
On the Z6 Mark II. And I'd love to know that we are not straying out of frame, but I don't, because it's not got a flip screen. Why aren't we filming it with this?
I don't know. No, we've got to review that.
Yeah, we've got to review this. It does actually need to be in the shot, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. So what else has it got? 11 frames a second. It's got eye detection. That was working well. There's a pet eye detection as well.
And again, you can tweak that. You know, with this like this. I mean, I know there's lots of people out there with different preferences, but I like mine to be very quick on the focus, and I like it to be very sensitive on the focus. Yeah. Especially for video. Yeah, I think that's like a must, because otherwise you don't want that like yaw-y effect.
Lag, lag. Yeah.
So we tweak that up, whack that up to 4 on the speed and down to 1 on the sensitivity.
It's got the same Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and the SnapBridge capability. So
SnapBridge is great. I did use SnapBridge the other day, and a client was really impressed. They were like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
On the airport runway. So.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Nikon SnapBridge, I'll put a link up here now of us showing you how SnapBridge works, and so have a look at that. What else? Touchscreen is an OLED screen, and it was a particularly good screen.
It's good,
Touch screen, so you can take pictures and focus, choose your focus points.
And that is really good as well. I mean, I use it quite a lot. I used it today again on a job I was out doing. When you hold the camera up high and you can just touch the back. Yeah. And it focuses on your touch point, so that again, that's a really good feature.
It just speeds things up, doesn't it? And it's just modern ways of working, isn't it? It's shooting to SD cards, specs. What's the megapixel in the Z6?
I don't know.
I'll put it on the screen now. We'll go and look it up. It'll be on.
I'll just press the button. Sorry.
This is 20.9 megapixels. This one's shooting. Now, obviously, you've got all these wonderful dials on, and you've got the exposure triangle completely at hand. You've got the aperture operating off this little ring at the front here. You've got your shutters on the top, just like the FM2 was,
so
showing you
it's the same there,
all of these here, look. Are just there. But what they've also done, you don't need a winder on this, because obviously this side there's no film, so they've given you ISOs there, so you can change the ISO very, very quickly without going into any menus. You can be on auto, or you can change it manually. So what you're effectively doing is using these two here to effectively change the exposure and get the real-time exposure in the screen. So so you're taking less pictures, getting it right first time. The one thing you did point out actually with video, and we're going to have to look this up, and again I'll put in the description if we find an answer to this, but the shutter increments here, look, are 15, 30, 60, 125, 250, just like they were
on that camera.
On that. The aperture, as I said, is at the front here. What you've got at the front of the camera here, to turn it on, just like that X10 we were talking about, that Fuji, you clunk it round. And that is slightly disappointing for me, because I just suddenly feel it looks not quite as good with that out as the rest of the camera, does it? However, having said that, it's a great lens. It performed really well, I think you'll see from the pictures. Your zoom range is on there, but here is a focusing ring, just in here. And wouldn't it have been nice if there was a way of putting an aperture ring there?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, definitely.
Where that focus ring is.
Yeah, it would have been nice.
I think less people would probably use a focusing ring than would use an aperture ring.
I don't think. I think who that camera's aimed at,
I don't think hardly anybody would use a focusing ring.
No, I think you're
I think
right.
they'll use it on the autofocus, face recognition, or they'll do it from the shutter button, you know, when it's like pin focus. So,
Yeah.
And I never use manual focus on this, never.
No.
You know, you just flick through the options, you know, you go to pin focus, dynamic range focus, or you just keep it on eye track.
So I wonder why they decided to make that focus rather than, perhaps it's to make people think, you know, it's that old thing that can actually focus it themselves in real time through the viewfinder.
But I don't know whether
see it, you know, the focus moving.
But I think the percentage of people who would know that probably is very, very limited.
Yeah, absolutely. But the percentage of people that perhaps would use the aperture there as well with this camera, you know.
I think ergonomically that feels better though.
Yeah.
You have the aperture ring there, doesn't it?
I think it would be lovely to have,
You know, and that is like back to this one again.
An aperture ring would have been nice. It would have sort of completed your triangle there of the three things that can change exposure. I do think it was designed as a fashion accessory and sort of something, you know, with a retro vibe for people that perhaps don't always know perhaps that much about photography, but I might be being unfair there, but I think it's going to stay on auto for a lot of people that buy this camera or program. And the reason I say that is because it comes in 6 different colours.
Does it?
This is the ordinary one that looks like an FM2, but it comes in 6 different colours.
Does it?
For an extra price, for £150.
What are the colours?
We'll put that on screen later. It'll be in this description. I don't know. Red, green, blue.
There's going to be a black one. Is there going to be a black one? Gold?
No, they're not. They're not that kind of colours. They're like silver and pink and turquoise and lilac and you know, all those sort of, you know, trendy fashion accessory colours. So
I didn't realise that, but no.
So it's obviously aimed at a certain market that want to look cool with a retro camera. Yeah. In turquoise.
That's it. You only got to review this because you got the beard that matches the hipster look, isn't it? That's why you've grown that beard. It's all building up to this review. No,
I've been growing this beard for 6 months just to wear that wig. So right, what do we think? Let's round it up. What do we think? Would you buy one of those cameras?
I think I'd buy one to take on holiday.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you. I would buy one. I mean, I'm really impressed at the results. I think they're great pictures from this camera. I think it's light. I think it's affordable. And
it looks good.
It looks great, doesn't it?
Yeah, you look cool with it, you know, if you're walking around with that.
I mean, even me.
Yeah. You do look trendy when you've got it.
Let's not stress a point.
But it does look nice. I think it looks better when the lens is in, as you referred to earlier. I think it looks a bit amateur when it pops out.
Yeah.
You know, there's no lens.
But you know, there's only one other lens, I think, at the moment, a 28mm.
Is there?
For this.
I think
I think that's your choice at the moment. But of course, it's new.
It'll evolve.
And the new, you know, lenses for this will no doubt come onto the market. I would like I'd like a faster lens for it, and I am impressed. I just think you know what it does really well. It makes you feel comfortable. It takes me back.
Does this lens fit on there?
I don't think so.
Let's try it. It might do, you know. There you go.
So as I was saying, there are hundreds of lenses available for this particular camera. It does actually work, look. Don't forget though, this wasn't a 24-70 when we put it on there.
No, so obviously, with the chip, with the thingy, so that is a factor you've got to bear in mind.
You know, that is designed to be a 24-70 lens, and on that camera, full frame camera, it is. When we put it on here, it's an APS, so it isn't, is it? You know, I think this has been marketed, as a travel camera, stroke camera for people that want something a little bit hip, a little bit with it, and a little bit retro, and something that's going to be a talking point when you get it out to take some pictures. And also, it does make you feel like it's a proper camera with proper dials.
It does, definitely.
And stuff. And maybe there's an argument to say that when you're looking at all those shutter speeds, that's how I learned shutter speeds.
Yeah,
manually. When I was learning, you kept looking down at them, and you just went, 2, 4, 8, 15, 30, 60, 1, 2, 5, 2, you knew them off because you were looking at them every day.
And I think, to be honest, you know, knowing that as well fits onto that as well. You can actually grow your camera range if you want to get better lenses or stuff like that.
Yeah. I suppose there's an argument to say is if you've got one of these and those lenses fit it, put one of those in your bag.
Yeah. You know, you could have one of those as well. I mean, I think that is where the system works together, doesn't it? You've got that retro feel if you want to go around town and you look the part and you've got a trendy camera.
Yeah.
And then you can also encompass it with your more pro kit, or you can grow into that pro kit. You've got the same operating system, but it's just that retro feel of old school dials, knobs, look.
I think this is a great camera. I've been blown away by the results from it. I didn't expect them to be quite that good. I thought it was going to be all, you know, all sort of looks and no substance really.
Yeah.
I thought it was all going to be about the looks, and it wasn't, you know, necessarily going to perform. It's got HDMI and it's got mic input as well. You know, we've been shooting today with our Rode Wireless Go mics plugged in, and it's done really, really well. Settings-wise, auto, program, shutter priority, aperture priority, and manual. We like to shoot it on manual because with all these controls here at our fingertips and real-time information in the viewfinder, why wouldn't you? No. You know, you can absolutely. You know, I like to turn it off auto ISO, so I've got control over it. All in all, have a look at the pictures, see what you think. So we start off with this gnarled old tree root. This is the ZFC, so let's have a look at the Z6. And yeah, you can see a bit more clarity and a little bit more punch. Let's try something else. On the church, there just isn't so much between them. We've got the Z6 at the bottom there. It's difficult. Look at that, Z6 on the left. There's not so much to choose between them. The bokeh there is a big difference. And the bokeh has not come into play quite so much on this one. It's hard to tell which is which. Nice autumn light on these trees, and the ZFC's done a great job. How much better will the Z6 be? Well, you could argue that it's better, but only marginally. Now we're getting somewhere. This one is a little bit of more of a blow up, and look, you can definitely see the clarity of the Z6 there on the right. I really did think this was going to be obvious, but it isn't so much, is it? Here we go, two images. They're difficult to tell apart sometimes. You really, now you can tell those two. The one on the right there definitely got clarity, and no, it's harder to tell on that one. It's actually, it's really difficult to tell these apart. I think what I would pull from this is that the Z6 has got better bokeh, it's got better HDR, it's looking a little bit sharper. That may be the lens, but you know, the ZFC is not too far away, and at less than half price, it's punching well above its weight. I think for sort of 1,200 quid.
Yeah, it's worth it, definitely.
It's a great piece of kit, and I would definitely like to be packing one of these in my suitcase when I go on holiday. I really enjoyed shooting with the Nikon ZFC. It's really taken me back to the days when I started, and it's great to have such a fantastic looking camera. I thought I was being a little bit unfair, maybe pitting it up against a Z6. You know, a professional level 4-frame camera, but actually, as I said, it punched well above its weight. I don't think you can see the difference that the price would reflect. You know, it's less than half the cost of the Z6 with the lens we were shooting with, and I think the results speak for themselves. They were really, really, really good. Now, I would take this camera with me out on holiday, out taking, you know, fun pictures. I would have no problems with that. Shooting professionally, I'd probably still opt for the Z6 Mark II. If you'd like to see Stuart and I reviewing the Z6 Mark II, take a look at this video here.